This is Jerry Casale of Devo.
This is Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo, and you are watching Consequence.
Thank you very much for joining me today. And I just want to start off by asking, how are you feeling about this nomination this year? Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. Well, it's the third time, so we're hoping the cliche about the third time is a charm is true.
Yeah, we're tickled pink.
When you found out that you were nominated, what was your reaction?
Shock and awe. Well, we were excited about it. It's it's a wonderful honor, and it's nice to be recognized for things you did that you think you worked really hard on, and you put a lot of time and effort in it, and for somebody else to acknowledge that and say it had some sort of a value is nice.
That's right.
Absolutely. When people talk to you about the impact of Devo as a band, what do they talk about? What do they talk to you guys about? What do they express?
Well, it's a plethora. It's a full spectrum of, what's your favorite color to what makes you think de-evolution is real. So it goes from banal and silly to really deep. Because we did put something out there that was rife with substance and meaning, so it inspired a lot of people to think, which is all we were trying to do ever.
I got to be honest with you. I think every band in some way deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the reason why I think that is because what music seems to do a lot of the time, the even doesn't matter what kind of band you are or what your ideas were, it's like that you fit into somebody's life, at a time when they were like going, the world's totally crazy and I need something that makes sense, and that could be Tom Petty, and that could be Devo, it could be any band actually. And I think I'm not saying Devo is exactly like every other band, because that's not at all how I feel. I feel like that we gave people more to think about than most bands in some ways. And for that, it's kind of like we do get slightly different, fans. We get people that are, into genetics, or people into all sorts of things that said they got into their life because of being inspired by Devo, which I like.
We had a huge nerd contingent, people that were called nerds, that were labeled nerds. So yeah, we had people, coming to our concerts that were, in law school, in medical school, geologists, that kind of thing. And we represented some kind of haven for disenfranchised people in general. We would hear these stories all the time and get letters and postcards all the time, back when people sent letters and postcards, where it's like, you guys, I got beat up because of you. I almost got murdered because of you. Because they had a Devo shirt on, or they had dyed their hair pink at the edges or something, and they got screamed at, and the ubiquitous term for being different was Devo. And it was like, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when they go, eh!
I mean, that speaks to just like, when you get messages like that, do you feel good about being able to provide, that kind of support for people?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were sincere in what we were trying to do. So it's great when you bond with a certain part of the demographic, in your culture.
Do you feel like there have been times in history, or not history, but over the last few decades, where, you felt like people understood what Devo meant better than others?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be the case with everybody about everything,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
You know, Devo in England, it was different than Devo in Europe, and different than Devo in the US or South America and Australia and Japan. And at different times, you know, people found out about us, and, you know, different, you know, just the way we were presented in different areas. It's like, it was easier to understand in some places. And when we went to Japan, we felt like people had done homework. You know, they had tried to figure out what we were talking about. And yeah,
Each culture is different. And Japan was so serious, we thought they didn't like us. We're at the Budokan, and we're looking at thousands of people clapping politely and not moving to the beat, like a completely different behavior than a US audience. And we thought, oh my God, we're bombing. And they loved it. But that's just the way they showed their appreciation.
oh yeah. But also when we played Come Back Johnny, because they had watched a video of Come Back Johnny before we came on stage, and they saw people mobbing the stage in the video, they did it. They all ran up on stage. It was pretty good.
Was it that didn't hopefully cause any serious problem?
No, matter of fact, it was all very tame, and they just stood there and pogoed up and down until security took them out, like one at a time off the stage. It was
Very polite people.
It's wonderful. In terms of talking about Rock Hall, I'm curious, did you get to see Dolly Parton's response to being nominated this year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love Dolly Parton, and I was glad she said what she said. Yeah. And
How-
the Rock Hall wouldn't even let her remove herself. They wouldn't let her.
But do you feel like she should have been allowed to?
Well, she's the artist. Yeah. How are they in charge instead of her? She's great. And look at her career. My God.
Of course. But so I'm sorry. So are you saying that you do feel like Dolly Parton should be nominated?
Well, we don't make that, we don't make that determination. The Rock Hall is really recognizing all types of music, and rock and roll is a misnomer on some level. And yeah, I mean, Dolly Parton, why shouldn't she be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She really deserves to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you Devo over the years has not kind of, I feel like at times rejected the label of rock and roll.
In specific senses, yeah. It's rock and roll has a wide range of politics, and and there's a lot of it that we don't and never did adhere to or feel like we had in common with the people that had those politics. So
yeah, I mean, that term just suggests a certain mentality that is very limiting and stultifying. It's like compared to Kraftwerk, Devo rocks really hard.
Mm-hmm. Thinking a little broader, if you win, if you get in this year, do you have a sense of how you'll celebrate?
Well, hopefully we'll play really well at the awards ceremony. That would be a celebration.
And then we'll go home and listen to Dolly Parton records.
Do you determine what you play at the ceremony, or is that a mutual decision?
I was hoping you'd know.
We'll let you know when we get there.
Okay.
I thought the Rock Hall determines how many songs you're allowed to play, and you may be able to choose them to a certain degree.
This feels like a very mysterious organization.
Inscrutable.
It's like the Masons.
But not the Freemasons.
Just the regular.
More like the Mason jars.
So I want to ask you, looking back over your career, your music's been used a lot in film and television. And do you have, not of course, Mark's score composing work, but just, your songs have been sampled in film and television. And I was curious if you have like a particularly favorite instance of that happening, like a movie or TV show you thought did a really particularly great job of it.
There's probably many. I would think of Casino right away.
Mm-hmm.
Use of Whip It and Satisfaction to rapid fire gunfire.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That's the one I like.
That makes sense. I mean, were you having conversations with Martin Scorsese about over it, or?
No, the man is a god. He doesn't talk to the peons.
You just got a call saying Martin wants to use the song. Is that cool with
Yeah.
you?
Mhm.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to pay the going rate.
Yeah. You know what? Other one that was really good I liked was Gut Feeling in Life Aquatic. Because it was kind of funny because it keeps built, because we have this, the song starts with this build that keeps going and going and going and go way too long almost. And then the lyrics start. That's exactly where he cut the song.
And of course, the king of them all, the Swiffer commercial with the Whip It parody.
Of course. I mean, when you're doing something, when you've been doing something for so long that's meant to be playing with the idea of commercialism, what has it been like to be part of commercial?
If that's not your goal, it feels kind of nice because it's like icing on the cake or just a surprise, inside the box of Cracker Jacks, it's the surprise.
And in a way, it's kind of almost subversive because, kids hear your music in a commercial, and then if they recognize it outside of a commercial, then maybe they pay attention to your other music and they listen to what you're talking about, or they find out. So it's like a nice way to, like introduce people that may never have paid attention to Devo.
I feel like I personally learned, discovered a lot of music that exact way. So it definitely seems to work.
And it's a late life bonus in terms of some revenue, because we never made any money touring because we had elaborate theatrical shows. And you got to remember, people were paying like $7 to $10 a ticket. Okay, that was normal to see bands in our height of our career arc. And we never made money. And suddenly, here's a hunk of money.
Something I came across in prepping to talk with you today that I'd love to know a little backstory on is you did a cover of Nine Inch Nails' Head Like a Hole for the Super Cop soundtrack. And it's a really good cover. And I was wondering how that all came about.
Mark, do you remember who asked us to do that?
Who directed that?
I think it was just the producers of the movie, right?
No, you know who it was? It was what was the company that Nine Inch Nails were signed to? Gosh, I can't think of their name. And
who was signed to?
9 Inch Nails.
Oh, 9 Inch Nails. Well, they were. That was Jimmy Iovine, wasn't it?
He's the one who.
Okay.
He was talking with
Interscope.
Yeah, Interscope. That's it was them that
So it was their idea.
Their idea, yeah.
It was their idea to do that specific song?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
To ask Devo to do that song, yeah.
Did they say why they thought that would be a good match?
No.
But it's.
I mean, it's kind of intimidating because that's one of Trent's best songs, right? Other than Closer, that's what you think about, and it's like, maybe it's because we had the quote balls to cover Satisfaction back when that they thought, oh, Devo won't be intimidated by trying to cover 9 Inch Nails.
Well, another thing I wanted to ask you about is it's a sadder topic of conversation, but I saw you're donating your song royalties for the month of April for Ukraine relief, and I wanted to ask you about talk a little bit about why that feels really important to do right now.
Well, it's like anybody with half a brain left in the Western world of supposed democratic rule of law countries would see this egregious, attack on a country that did nothing to them, and want to pitch in any way they could. I mean, we would hope that other people in the music industry on a scalable level of like means greater than ours would also join in and do the same thing so that it reached critical mass. So there was, we could buy these people some weapons to defend themselves.
It's and people, they do license our stuff all, quite frequently. And so, maybe they would like say, oh, I better call during the month of April, and that'd be great. We'd love to give,
We just tried to get the ball rolling in our own way that we could, given our means.
Something else I want to make sure I ask about before I let you go is, the music video as a art form has evolved a lot. It's gone through different permutations. We watch music videos now in very different ways than we used to. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on where you feel like the music video is in that evolution. Like, how do you feel about that as an art form today?
Well, kind of it's back to an art form, because between the record companies and MTV that devalued it and made it a throwaway promotional tool, and then stopped showing them and stopped funding them, it's back to people actually making for the internet artsy kind of videos, that go viral. And that's interesting to me. It's back to the beginning when we were doing it. There was no MTV. We were making short films. There was no word music video. We were making art films, music-driven art films. And it's back to that. We had no budget. It was do it yourself. It was DIY.
Mark, did you have any thoughts?
Well, we're in agreement. I mean, MTV, for better or worse, decided that they were going to be a promotional facility. And so they were like, they didn't pay for the videos ever. And the record company didn't really want to pay, and it ended up getting thrown on the bands quite often.
They drove it away from an art form into a factory, and then that all the videos started looking alike, and the same things would happen in each of them. And there would be an angry woman that would grab a vase and throw it on the ground and break, and the flowers would go, and the guys were always leering at the women and making macho moves, and it became a joke.
Yeah, and quite a few of the songs that got played a lot were only there because they were on the charts, not because the video and the song were a clever combination. It was often it just looked like somebody threw a bunch of stuff, at a screen, and that was your music video. And
there was about a year and a half, a little window, where the promise of MTV seemed kind of real. Where they were promoting great videos that were music driven by good songs. And then, like Mark said, it just became like when they got the American Express money and it was a national franchise, they tied their playlist to the top 40 FM radio playlist. And so if you weren't rising in the charts or in the top 20 of that, they weren't going to rotate, put you in rotation. They weren't going to do it. So it didn't matter how cool your video was.
What would you say that year and a half period where it was all actually good was?
Well, when did Bob Pittman? It was like 1980, late 1980 to 81 to 2.
That was like where there was a higher chance that something was going to be interesting, is what he's, because it was early on, and then it really did just turn into looking like ad agency directors that were, looking to expand their resume, and it, most stuff was not interesting or clever even.
I mean, we were in a weird position because we had 4 videos that we had made before MTV existed at all. So when Bob Pittman and John Sykes, the original people that started MTV, when they came to us, they were looking for programming. They had none. So they were playing our 4 videos all day long, along with Video Killed the Radio Star and Ashes to Ashes by David Bowie, directed by David Mallet, and a couple Rod Stewart terrible live performance videos, and that was it. And it just rotated all day long, and we were on all the time, and Mark and I thought, okay, we're vindicated. What's going to happen?
We're not on the radio, but we're on MTV. So that was cool.
And only in 3 cities, though. And then they went national. And then it was like, sorry, Devo, your song dropped 2 places in the charts. I'm sorry.
But I do agree that the rise of digital, digital distribution has really changed this in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
I know that over the years, Devo as a band has really had some fun experimenting with the potential there.
Yeah. And now it's back to that with young bands. They're just able to make videos, where they're out there in the wilderness with no real help or support, but they can make a great video and it can go viral.
Mm-hmm.
You can do TikTok and suddenly be huge, right? But there are great videos being made now again.
Have you looked much at TikTok?
At the urging of people in my sphere who are younger than me, they direct me to watch stuff. Yeah.
I never you're going there. I never do.
But TikTok is changing rapidly. It's mutating in a pretty good way, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot similar to how, or in the early days of YouTube, there was just a lot of figuring out what you could do with YouTube.
Right.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but before I let you go, I do want to ask, who are you excited about right now? Who are other artists that you're seeing at work that that make you think, oh, this is they've got it figured out. They're going to go really far.
You know what? I need your help, because as much as I want to hear that exactly what you're talking about, I don't. I just hear really slick, imitative stuff that sounds like the same two producers with a computer created all the music, and then the vocal effects and singing style with the cadence and the sing-songy cadence. I don't know. I can't tell if it's Ariana Grande or Dua Lipa or whatever. It's like, who is that? It's all the same. I mean, the last thing I saw that I was excited about, it's old now, I'm sorry. It's a Childish Gambino called This Is America.
Oh, yeah.
Which blew me away. That did it. It's like, I was jealous. It's like, that's a video Devo should have made, or that's a video in the spirit of what we were doing. And it was a great song.
I mean,
Older.
Like Little Nas X, I think, is like at least having a lot of fun experimenting with the music video as a format.
I have heard songs that I like a lot, and I can't remember the name of the artist, because it isn't like they put out a body of work and it's recognizable. It's like one song. Mm-hmm. And my wife, who's younger than me, will play me stuff, and then it'll suddenly be like, that's really good. But it's not something that's on the radio, and it's not something that's part of the mass culture of whatever that terrible show is where everybody on television, where everybody competes singing, that Adam Lambert won, and what is it called? I don't know.
American Idol?
Yeah. It's, that depresses me. I don't know what to say. It's like, if American Idol determined back in the 60s what music was, then you would have never seen Bob Dylan or Jimi Hendrix or anybody, because they would have gone, they can't sing, because they would have had to come on a show and sing like Frank Sinatra, right? And luckily that didn't happen, but now it's stultifying.
Oh, I'll tell you what I do. I get up early and I come into work and I start writing music. And I write music for a good part of the day. And then by the time I go home, it's like, that's the last thing I want to listen to. So it's like, I'm not playing the radio, or I hear stuff my kids like, and I don't try to influence them. I just let them, get into what they like to get into. And most of it, I understand it's for them, so I don't know all the artists, to be honest with you.
No worries. What do your kids think of Devo?
They find it curious, and they never, it's like they didn't really, like my one daughter started college. She's at Pratt, and she acted like she was shocked to find out that other kids knew about Devo. So And my other daughter, who's a dancer, listens to classical music all day. So they're freaks, I guess.
Well, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you both. Congratulations on the nomination. Fingers crossed for a win this year. And before I let you go, just tell me anything you have coming up that you want to mention, anything you're excited about?
Boy, well, we get to play live coming up in May.
Yeah, we're gonna play some shows, and that'll be fun.
We're playing the Cruel World Festival at the Rose Bowl, and we're playing in New York.
What has it been like going back to playing live after, everything that's been happening over the last couple of years?
Well, we can still do it, which is proof of concept.
There's always been a certain amount, there's always been a percentage of chaos in almost every Devo show, no matter how much we tried to do them, be perfect about something. Our shows, we always kind of, something mutates every show. So it's always interesting.
Yeah, sometimes the chaos results in a good outcome, and sometimes not so good.
Well, that's the roll of the dice. Yeah.